Hello, I'm Rod Sutton, Editorial Director of Construction Equipment. Today we're going to talk about how machine data, specifically video data, can reveal opportunities to engage operators and drivers in constructive coaching. Joining me is Del Lisk. Del is Vice President Safety Services for Lytx, a provider of video solutions. Del, welcome and thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Rod. Pleasure to be here.
Would you just start out a little bit, Del, and tell us a bit about Lytx? What services, systems does your company offer that enhances the machine data that already comes off of a machine?
Yeah, thanks. So our fleet management solution combines video, machine vision, and vehicle data to provide a better context about what's happening with vehicles for fleets than traditional video telematics can do. And with that full picture of what's happening, it provides insights that enable users to improve operator safety, certainly, also increase productivity, and also streamline their DOT compliance management challenges.
Terrific. Now you're not a monopoly. There are other companies that offer similar products and services. Is that correct?
That's correct. Although at the we were the first ones in this space. So more than 20 years ago, we were the first to put video in the cab. So I guess for a little while we were a monopoly, but it was it was very early in the early days. So
Well,
we were the first to do this, but we still are the market leader.
okay. It's relatively new to me, and I'm very intrigued by how you marry video with machine data. So what I'd first like you to do is just explain how Lytx integrates what we call machine vision, and you can define that a little bit, but how Lytx integrates machine vision with AI, artificial intelligence, in order to provide opportunities for some pretty cool operator coaching.
Absolutely. And that I think really is kind of the step change in just having video in the cab. This is the next evolution of that solution. So that machine vision and artificial intelligence, which I'll call MVAI, that's working on the device itself, or what we call on the edge. So right in the vehicle, it's identifying objects and things like that. And then it's also analyzing that data up in the cloud. And ultimately what it's doing is it's identifying risk. So it's identifying things such as a driver not wearing a seatbelt, or a driver bringing a cell phone to their ear, or a driver rolling through a stop sign. So it's able to identify and analyze those things. And to kind of talk about machine vision and artificial intelligence, a way to think about it, think of machine vision is almost like your eyes. So they're seeing and recognizing objects, might be lane markers, stop signs, etc., or a cell phone. And then the artificial intelligence is like the brain. So it takes what the machine vision has identified, and then it interprets and decides and determines if it's risky or not. And so ultimately, with a solution like ours, because of our vast amount of data from 20 years of collecting it, it allows us to detect these risky situations with greater than a 95% accuracy.
So then from a fleet manager's perspective, or an operations manager's perspective, how does Lytx suggest they use this information to effectively coach and change behaviors?
Yeah, and so I'll use the term coach maybe a little more broadly.
Okay.
Coaching can happen by you and I, well, unfortunately these days virtually, probably, versus sitting in a room together. But manager and technician, talking over an issue, that'd be kind of conventional coaching. But coaching can also include self-coaching. So at one level, there's the opportunity for the machine vision and artificial intelligence to identify a situation where perhaps someone is not wearing a seatbelt when they get behind the wheel, and so it can alert them to fasten their seatbelt. Or as I mentioned before, or if they're bringing a cell phone to the wheel to their ear while they're driving, it can have an audible comment that being distracted driving. The point being, at the first level of coaching is the opportunity for that MVAI and these in-cab alerts to empower a driver to correct the behavior themselves. That's the fastest way and the most desirable way to do it. Of course, we know not everyone necessarily responds to that. So management does have access to the video. They have access to dashboards and reporting that help them track to track drivers that are not, making the proper behavior change, so they can, on a more targeted basis, perhaps coach a few of them. But also, just importantly, it has the ability to identify drivers that are performing really well, so that there's also opportunities to thank workers for doing a great job. As an example of the in-cab alerts and kind of where they fit in, many of our clients, we found that once they turn on that in-cab alert, within a week, they find there are instances of identified um, use of the handheld cell phone while driving. It's been reduced by 50% or more in just 1 week's time. So certain behaviors, drivers seem to respond to very well with those in-cab alerts.
Fantastic. That's exciting. The idea that the technology will enable the self-coaching behavior that kind of takes pressure off his supervisors and others in the company.
And I think it's also better received by the person behind the wheel too sometimes.
Yes, that's a good point. Alrighty. Well, just one other final question, Del, and that is, what one thing would an equipment manager take from this conversation today?
Okay, so I think at the end of the day, um, intelligent video-based tools like this they're efficient and they're time tested. If any of the listeners have not yet kind of put their toe in the water to consider this, they really should, because it works. It is, I mean, for example, we have it in 4,000 customers are using it on our end with more than 1.3 million drivers. And as you know, especially in the construction business, every organization is different. Each has a different culture. Each has different operational capabilities. So solutions like this are very customizable. So a company can choose to bite off only as big a bite as they think they can effectively consume in terms of safety and operational issues.
Fantastic. Well, listen, Del, I want to thank you for joining us today. It's been real helpful, and I really appreciate your insight in this. Folks, you can read more about video and AI on our website, constructionequipment.com, and we'll also have some more in-depth information on coaching in general. Thanks for joining us.